Noah Kagan is a super successful guy that was one of the first employees at Facebook, one of the first employees at Mint, and he's then gone on to build a super successful 8-figure company called AppSumo and Sumo.com, and they're just amazing products. So how did someone like him become so successful? What is his story, and what are some of the best tactics he learned along the way? That's what we're going over in this video, so make sure you stay tuned. There's some amazing takeaways.
I was talking with a younger entrepreneur today. I'm 36, so I'm like fucking dinosaur, internet business years. But this guy's 25, and he's a magician. And I think one of the things that I was very clear on is I had very clear goals, which I don't think people have. And so I'm like, what's your goal? He's like, I don't know, I want to make more money. I'm like, how much more money? He's like, more. I'm like, well, how do you know when you get there? He's like, well, I'll just have more money.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, dog, that's not, I'm only sharing what works for me. And what works for me, especially super clear goals and having kind of like things that I'm working on that I really want to see myself. So for him as a magician, what I recommended is, where's your salary now? Let's say 50,000. Pick a clear target, which is 100,000 or whatever it is. And then make a plan of, here's exactly how I'm going to get that extra 50,000 bucks. And for me as well, like I only wanted to really work on projects. I made the most money when I worked on projects that I was just like crazy excited about. And afterwards, I realized, holy shit, I made some money. So some of the ways I made money that I didn't even expect was like I put on conferences. Yeah. I just thought, hey, I've never been to a conference I wanted to go to. Why don't I just like hit up these people cold and see if I can get like Max Lipton from PayPal, James Holland for Hot or Not, Plenty of Fish founder, guys that are super wealthy now and super well known. And I just emailed them and said, I'm putting on a conference. You guys should come. I'm going to have a bunch of great people, Guy Kawasaki, all these people that you'll like. And I was a nobody. I didn't have a brand. No one knew who I was. But I told them other people are going to be there. So they knew other cool people are coming. And then once they confirmed, I asked them for recommendations. Anyways, I put this on. And at the end of the day, like we had free alcohol all day. We had Red Bull, all this cool stuff that I just wanted to have at a conference I would go to. Ended up making about 50,000 every time.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And I was like, oh, I made some money. This is pretty wild. I wasn't expecting it. So just a few things, just like number one, clear goal. Number two is that have something you want to work on. And I think what I'm noticing about people is that I think a lot of people are just wussies. They're just, it's not Gary Vee yelling at people like, go work, blah, blah.
Send this email to mom. Sorry, mom.
But I think people are like, yeah, I want to do this. I want more, but they're not actually putting in the work. And what I mean by that is that like if you want to have a business, which it's not for everyone, I think some people should just work for other people. It's actually a lot better most of the time. But like, what are you doing Friday night? What are you doing like Thursday morning? What are you doing this weekend? And if you really want your own company, you have to have sacrifices. So like when I started AppSumo, I was working at 4 a.m. in Croatia because there were support issues. Or I was in France late at night talking to Andrew Warner. Or it's early morning, like you're doing an early morning chat with me. What is it, like 6 a.m. there?
Not that early, 8:45, but still.
That's early, man. That's early. What I've observed about people that end up getting whatever success is for them, it shouldn't be about external success. It's whatever you define as your own measure of success. It's that they fucking put in the time. And a lot of people are like, yeah, I just want to do a Tinder of getting rich. And I've never seen a Tinder for getting rich. It doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And this other part of that is that as much as you put in time, because there's a lot of people, I'm sure you have friends, they're like, yeah, Max, like I'm putting in all this time, mate. I'm putting all this time. I'm not rich. What the fuck? I saw you on YouTube. You got rich real quickly. It's two key things. It's that you put in the time, you persist. It's called persistence. And then you've got to iterate. So all these fools are just like, yeah, man, I just work hard. I work really hard. And I'm like, well, that's fine. But if it's not working, you got to look about how you can keep iterating stuff. So with AppSumo, or a lot of our businesses, it was like, all right, we started out with deals of web software in bundles. And now we have, giveaway software, kingsumo.com, or we have Netflix for software, which is Briefcase HQ, or sumo.com, which is our email marketing software. So the point though is you do something, find what works, but then you have to keep iterating around it.
Yeah.
And all the major successful businesses, if you actually look at how they started, they picked something, found something that works, and then they iterated. Facebook started with Harvard, and now it has all this random shit. Amazon started with books. Google started with like academic research. Yeah. Microsoft started with developer tools, and then they iterated. In conclusion, pick a clear goal. Have a strong answer. I wanted to make $1 million by 30. That was it. I was like, originally I said 30 million by 30, but then as I got closer, I was like, just a million. Just let me have a million, please. And then I worked on things I was interested in. I persisted, right? I think when you, like, it's very easy to be like, oh, it's not working. You got to just put in the time. And then lastly is just iterate. So keep thinking about, how do I make this better? Like with my YouTube channel, for instance. Put out all these videos like 5 years ago, and I got a shit ton of views. I was shirtless, I'd take my shirt off. I'd be like, hey, what's up, And people would watch a lot of it because there's nothing else out there. Now I put out a video and like no one watches it. Very few people watch it. And so, because it's gotten more competitive. And so you have to say, all right, well, what's working? So I put out, I think, around 45 videos in the past year. And finally, like 4 of them have worked in terms of like, getting over 30 to 40,000 views for me.
Yep.
And so it's like, all right, well, what stuff is working? How do I then work backwards from that and then do more of those? And I think a lot of times people are like just doing random shit and kind of hoping it works.
Yeah.
Yeah, I should have. I would have had 1 million by 25.
Yeah.
I was a dumb shit. I'm still trying to learn from my own mistakes. And funny enough, and I'll tell you why I stopped it. So I stopped doing the conferences because it started, I became known and I started feeling like a networker.
Yeah.
And I didn't want my epitaph, I think that's what they call it. I don't have a big vocab. I just wanted to sound smart. But I didn't want my eulogy or whatever the hell they call them being like, Noah Kagan, he hosted events.
Yeah, it wasn't like authentic to you and what you wanted to be about. Yeah.
In the beginning it was, but then after time, everything gets boring over time. Like every girl you date, like super hot, and then after a year you're like, oh, again. Yeah. So you have to figure out the 2 ways of doing it. And the way that I've learned is that now with all work, eventually it gets boring. Your girlfriend, your work, your wife, whatever. Work, wife, whatever. Okay. Anyways, it gets boring. So you have to think about, how do I make this fun for myself?
Yeah.
Whatever activity I'm doing, whatever work I'm doing, how do I add creativity? So the 2 things I would have done in retrospect is, number 1, I would have probably hired someone to run those conferences. So find someone who loves event planning and that's their jam. The second thing I think we have to recognize, and it's only you can do this in retrospect, is that in my 20s, I think we have a lot of fear or guilt about what we're not good at, and we want to improve it. Like, I'm not a good public speaker, so maybe like you, like I want to go improve my public speaking, or I'm not good at this, and I'm not good at this. And in my 30s, what I've recognized, and maybe in my 40s it'll change again, but in my 30s, I'm like, I'm so good at starting businesses, I suck at maintaining businesses. And I used to feel really guilty. I felt really bad that like, oh, I suck because I'm good at starting, but I don't know how to continue it. And if you look at it, it's like, it's actually better to be great at something than good at things. I'd rather be great than good.
Yeah.
And so now I've embraced, like, let me be great at finding things, starting them, getting them going, and then finding people who are actually better at like, all right, how's the organization look? How do the numbers look? How do we take it to the next level? And funny enough, another guy named Charles, who started conferences after me and made similar format, copied me, actually ended up selling his conference company for millions of dollars. So, I think in retrospect with a lot of things, when I had another company I started, and when I left the company, I was happy that they failed. I said, oh, this company failed, and they failed because I left. And I felt, my ego felt so good about it. But in reality, I think true success is when you leave something and it's better off without you.
Yep.
It's better off without you. And
Yep.
only in the past year that took me about 5 years to finally, or was it 8 years, to finally start recognizing that's maturity of like, oh, if you leave something better than you found it, you've actually had a real success with some kind of project.
That's awesome.
Yeah, good follow-up. Don't let me off. I appreciate that. One, I did 30 by 30 because it just sounds cool.
Yeah.
30 by 30, then it just has a good rate.
I agree.
If you think about most goals in life, it's pretty arbitrary. Why 1 million over 2 million? Or why just, the way I like to look at goals is like, think about what you could probably do, put a little bit more, and then make that like the goal to do. So it's a little bit of stretch. Otherwise, it's not a goal because you're going to accomplish it anyways. So 2 things. I think the million was more in your 20s. I don't think we're really that smart. I just think you should just spend as much time working as possible so that it gets a little bit easier in your 30s. And I thought for some reason having 1 million would make me feel like I've accomplished something.
Yeah.
And at that time, I thought 1 million, and nowadays it sounds a little fucked up, but like 1 million is kind of like the new 100,000.
Yeah.
Like there's poor people with 1 million, and I know there's people watching who are like, well, I'd like 1 million. And there's the thing that I think about with money, there's literally fucking unlimited money out there. Unlimited. Like if I wanted to go make a lot of money, there's so much out there. But I've changed because now I'm not as interested in just making money. That's less appealing to me. I don't really care to own a sports team. I drive a 2004 Miata. I live in a 685 square apartment. So that stuff doesn't really make you a lot happier, makes life easier. And so it's let me work on things and do things that I really enjoy. And in my 20s, I think I got mixed in that. So I spent time on things like conferences that I enjoyed, but then I spent time making Facebook games because it was an opportunity to make money, and I really wanted to go work abroad.
Yep.
And I don't think that's bad. I think you should just, when you're younger, just go do anything to get experience and learn. But as you evolve, I think you'll do better and be more successful as you focus on projects that you're interested in. So my career was, Facebook fired me, and then I wanted to prove myself. I wanted to prove that I'm not like a fucking retard, and I don't suck. And that that was a lot of my identity, that I was like a loser and I got removed from something. So these conferences helped, but it wasn't that. And so then I found mint.com.
Yeah.
So anyways, it's just kind of interesting. I think at the time I was just trying to do whatever was around, but really start focusing on, all right, what stuff can I be excited to work on that I'm solving my own problems. I think when people do that, they generally can sustain and work on a business for a long period of time.
Yeah.